be a party. I'm
But I think
scared.
that's no, I love that.
Yeah.
I love you sharing your offline actual example, because I think when we start getting into our community mapping and content planning, which we'll do after the break, you're going to be able to see there's an opportunity to translate that online. Your strategy may not be to talk or to try and even engage 500 people every week on Facebook, but it could be showing one person's story that you got to connect with, you created that content. You know, there are opportunities to be flexible and make it relevant to how your organization works. Like I said, not everyone throws a house party like me.
Yeah.
Not everyone has a husband that works in theater. But the way we use the tools is gonna be a similar approach, you know?
Okay.
Great. I think there was another hand up here somewhere.
Come up with a very unique way to do this as both a conference and an unconference at the same time. And this is literally something I didn't think would be possible myself. So it works really well. Can you raise your hand if you were here last year? And did you think it worked pretty well?
Yes.
Everyone was like, wow, unconferences are cool. And who's been to an unconference anywhere before? Who hasn't been to an unconference before? Okay, cool. Prepare to be an evangelist 8 hours from now for unconferences. So let me explain. I'll try to explain just a little bit. I get a little excited about unconferences and I can go on a little too much. So I'll try to give you the very brief overview, and if you want to know more, you can ask me. But this is actually a process for meetings that was invented in the 1980s. Before, right? You think it's like a geeky, bloggy thing, but it's really just a way for the participants in any particular event to create the event themselves, to create the agenda, and it can be done for
Just peer pressure shame you into talking to your neighbor. Fine leveraging peer pressure for good. I wanted to talk about innovation only because I think that is a word that gets kind of used and abused and pushed around, and also like, what is innovation? Why are we even using this word all the time if we're only using it to either say what we're doing isn't cool enough because it isn't innovative, or trying to push our teams to break out of a process or a cycle that maybe they are in. So I wanted to call it out as a word so that we can make it be something that's actually useful for us, and create a process in our organizations where we feel like we're having a consistent opportunity to reflect and revise our work and recognize that even those tiny changes, and even doing something that we've always done but in a new application or towards a new end, that's all innovation. We're all creating a better world every day, and that there shouldn't be this idea that innovation is something another organization does and we're like this boring organization that doesn't do anything good. I don't believe that is the case, unless you are one of those bad missions where you like kill puppies or kill the rest of us. But I invite those people to leave if you are really the puppy killing organization. So I'm curious if, by a raise of hands, how many people actually equate the idea of innovation as something new?
Videos. So this is kind of like back in 4th grade when the teacher brought a bunch of videos to, and you were like, yes, it's video day. So that's kind of this. So this one is a nonprofit legal aid, and just so you know, they're not. We didn't do this. So if you don't see our little logo, we didn't do this. They're not ready to go public with this yet, so there's like a weird beep, censor beep towards the end. Don't worry about that. But I love this one because it has a very distinct character conflict resolution structure. So watch out for that. And the first bit is kind of a continuation from a previous video, so it may look kind of weird, but you'll see.
More productive, but that's the only thing I've enabled. So I'm going to go to modules and get the things that I said were required. So, just quadruple can't do maps, but if you guys will remember, I said we need to open layers. So I'm going to open layers. Okay, let's hit those. And let's go to view. Oh wait, did I say geofield? I did. Let's enable that. And let's go to views. All right, and that's it. Now, of course, I told you open layers has a bunch of dependencies, so it's going to say, can I?
You were talking about
Yeah, so I'm not going to remember all these, I apologize. So householding is one where you can combine more than one contact into a household. So you have, kind of a primary householder, if you will, and then the other folks. And that's also good for addresses. So, Dr. and Mrs. John Doe or whatever. Or Dr. and Mr. John Doe, as the case may be.
Salutations.
Right. There's some formulas around that and doing that appropriately, whatever that means for your organization. So that's householding. Contacts and accounts. The way Salesforce works out of the box, there's a weird relationship between opportunities, which are donations, and accounts. And the contacts and accounts fixes that by, there's some code that creates a shadow account. It's kind of complicated to explain. It creates a shadow account for each contact so that if, I'd have to draw you a picture. It's helpful. Yeah, please.
Okay, so one of the issues we had when we were getting our data out of eTapestry is eTapestry would associate donations with a contact. So if I have a contact, John Smith, and he donated a donation that was from himself personally, it would be that donation would be attached to his name. And if he donated a donation from his company, it was still attached to his name. So there was no way to separate which ones were business donations and which ones were personal donations. In Salesforce, every contact, well, there's two ways of doing it, but I think easily the preferable one is you set it up so that each contact has their own personal account, and then if he were to have a business account, that account would be tied to the business, and then could be connected sort of to his name so that you could see.
Well, it has to do how do you roll that out, right? So in that scenario where John Doe gives $1,000 and his organization gives $1,000, who gets credit? And then the soft credits come in. You want to soft credit John Doe for the organizational gift because he was the influencer. All of that exists within the nonprofit starter pack. So that's households and contacts and accounts. Affiliations. Okay, so affiliations handles the relationship between contacts and accounts that aren't employer-employee relationships. So my employer is Cloud4Good. That is my account.
Well, we use it for everything.
What conditions should be met before data is pushed or synced. And it's really to try and make things a little bit easier for an organization's admin. And it can work okay, but then okay, I need to change this field. And then you have to go back and rework everything, and it's not efficient overall. It'd be better to just have a simpler process.
Can you incorporate a Salesforce site into your Drupal site that would just put the data straight to Salesforce and not deal with storing that data on Drupal?
You can iframe their forms and just have it go directly to Salesforce and bypass Drupal entirely.
And that's
valid.
Yeah, that may be exactly the right decision. Like it's the tension between the more involved technical solution and something else. Is this a live example?
No, keep going.
One more.
It's my wonderful slide.
Oh, good.
So it's a what to lead form, and well, it just looks like a form. But anyway, there's all these fields here, and what's nice about it is that this is, I don't know if you all are familiar with the web form module for Drupal. It's a simple module that lets you create your own forms. So you can really easily create different fields, and you can have different rules over who can fill it out and all that stuff. So if you go to the next slide, you can see the back end of that. And basically each one of these fields that we saw in the previous one is mapped to a Salesforce field. And you can also add in a Salesforce campaign ID. You can specify that the lead source came from the website. So it's really flexible. What's nice about this is we spent some development time coming up with this system, but now this client has created dozens of these forms. They don't have to, we don't have to be involved at all. We can just create the forms, map it to different Salesforce campaigns, and it just works.
If they're running a new membership drive, it's trivial for them to make a new field. Maybe it's for students and not businesses, and so they want to get what school are you attending. Keep that all segmented. They can do it without even calling us.
If there's a conference, if there is a building opening, if there's something
What do we have over here?
Got to show off the desserts.
All